This is an unofficial and unauthorized translation of a FIGU publication. 205th Contact. Monday, February 3, 1986, 2:18 p.m. Billy says, as usual, I have questions. One refers to the disease, atopic dermatitis, which attacks many people and about which there was a show on television again. Not only are adults affected by this disease but especially children, for whom the constant itching is especially bad. Are you aware of this disease? And if so, is there an effective medicine against this disease? If so, may you provide some information about it? Quetzal says, yes, this disease is known to me. But in our civilizations, this has no longer appeared for thousands of years, as well as other diseases and sufferings. What is medically possible to be done on the earth against this disease, which is very bad and also extremely painful for humans, I want to explain as an exception and on my own responsibility. Above all, silver iron products such as silver iron powder, silver iron jelly, or silver iron cream are useful. For this, an application is required on the skin. Billy says, thank you very much for your explanation. Perhaps medical science will take this up and through this, create effective medicines that really help. Then another question. You once said something in confidence with regard to above-ground atomic bomb tests, as well as with regard to other atomic tests, namely in connection with people who have been abused in this regard and who will continue to be abused. May we now talk about this openly because the middle of the 80s has since passed, about which you said that until then, this may not be spoken of publicly? Quetzal says, no more obstacles stand in the way of a public explanation. Billy says, may I repeat it, then? Quetzal says, of course. Billy says, good. You explained that since the criminal launching of the atomic tests, people have been abused, without their knowledge, for nuclear tests. This was done in America as well as in the Soviet Union. Entire villages and smaller towns were contaminated with atomic particles and, of course, also the people who lived there. Moreover, certain desert areas and land areas were contaminated. By what means animals as well as people were infected by atomic radiation, by which countless ones died and descendants were born with mutations. However, not only were living humans and animals abused for the radiation effects of the atomic attempts but also the deceased, both adults and children alike. Partly, the entire bodies of the deceased were abused for such purposes, as well as body parts, organs, bones, and the blood. And all this without the surviving relatives knowing anything about this or giving any consent to it. That was your explanation, right? Quetzal says, that is correct. But these actions have not yet found an end because this continues to operate secretly, namely in America and in the Soviet Union, as well as in England and Sweden, etc. At the same time, this isn't just about the testing of atomic radiation, which is released by above-ground atomic bomb tests and which is abused in the form of human experiments, as was mentioned by you, but rather atomic particles and radiations, in a similar reprehensible form, were and are abused in medical testing on people, both on the living as well as on the deceased. Billy says, so everything not only relates to military and secret service machinations but also to medical and economic research. Thus, the whole thing becomes even worse. What will further come? Will everything continue in the same style, or are there actually positive, progressive facts to be mentioned? Quetzal says, unfortunately, the entire evil will continue because the lust for power of many people is limitless, especially when they become governing and ruling. Even worse things will still appear because many people won't become more rational in their thoughts and feelings as well as in their ideas, plans, and desires and in their actions, but rather they will degenerate and will cause much harm. Also with respect to genetic engineering, which will be abused by the insane and irresponsible ones. But this does not mean that the research relating to this won't also bring many benefits for nature and people as well as for wildlife. This cannot be excluded but is a natural consequence of the development. Just like with anything else, there will be dark, crazy, and irresponsible elements involved in this, who will abuse everything for evil, greedy, avaricious, and sectarian purposes. But we've spoken well enough about this at other times. In addition to the actual genetic engineering, as it is known to be operated, there will still arise other, very progressive, and positive things, such as stem cell technology, which will achieve great progress around the mid-90s and will lead to much success after the turn of the millennium. By what means in the course of time, many sorrows of the earth people can be removed. Billy says, but of course, it will be like what will also be the case with genetic engineering, that many unreasonable ones, cowards, and negative ballers will emerge, who will scream bloody murder and who won't want to understand anything of the whole ordeal and who will want to hinder progress by force, as this will then also occur with genetic engineering when their things and progress reach the public. Quetzal says, as you once said to me, the stupid and unreasonable ones never die out. Billy says, right, so I said. Then now, I have a question that doesn't concern itself with such things but that is related to Buddha. Siddhattha Gotama, Buddha is always represented as very obese, but to my knowledge, he wasn't so corpulent at all. Do you have some knowledge concerning this? Quetzal says, Siddhattha Gotama was a man of normal stature, with a height of 170 centimeters and a weight of 67 kilograms. All statues or visual representations concerning his figure and entire body are based on distortions, as this is also the case with regard to various interests of his teachings, which were not only misunderstood by his students, etc., but which consequently became misinterpreted and widespread. This also applies to legends woven around him, which were invented by his followers to make more of him than he really was, namely a simple yet educated person, but who was not very informed and not well educated in the real spiritual interests and in the spiritual creative laws and their relationships and their workings, and who even misunderstood many of the facts of the teachings and also wrongly taught these as a result. But that, my friend, must again be enough for today, for your health appearance isn't the best. You need rest. Until we meet again. Billy says, bye. All the best. The end.